Hi, I'm Dennis Weese for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. We're again in the Abilene Public Library, and I have one of my very good friends and co-host of the Our Town program from time to time. Mr. James Holland. How you doing, James?
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's business?
Good. Business is good in the real estate business. Actually, things are, oddly enough, in the fall here, picking up a little bit, but rental market's strong. So.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
How much Fort Riley traffic are we having?
It's starting to taper off a little bit this time of year, but you know, most people will tell you that's what drives real estate in the region for a large part. So yeah, that always keeps everybody busy.
Okay.
Region, so.
We see the signs come and go on houses, and that's kind of the way I gauge a real estate market, is how many signs are coming and going.
Yep.
But good real estate market is one indicator of a healthy community.
That's right.
We're selling and buying and renting houses for real families to live in. And that's a great thing about our community. There's some foundational strength there. People do want to live here.
Yep. As long as the sign's not up too long.
that's the
rule.
Estate
that's the rule. Hey, well, that's a home seller rule. Too,
okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're filming this.
Speaking of yards and signs in yards.
Okay.
Right?
Speaking of signs in yards, good lead in. You can tell that's why he's the other host. We're filming this on the Thursday after a Tuesday general election in 2014. You said it's predictable, and I said it was pretty surprising. So how do we reconcile those statements? You get the first shot.
Well, there's always a lot of chatter up front. It always seems like if you've got particularly not an incumbent, but the challenger leading early tends to fizzle out towards the end, and as Kansas is well known for, a lot of red on the map, and the blue that you did see was where you would expect the blue to be. So I think Kansans were apparently very true to their historical voting patterns, and if you want to challenge that, go right ahead. But,
okay.
But I think it's pretty cut and dry.
I think I can take my next statement without really me walking out on the limb too far.
Okay.
So did you call the bookmakers in Las Vegas and put about 10,000 on that outcome, or are you just that confident on Thursday?
I don't even buy lottery tickets. I don't bet on anything. I don't waste a dollar on anything. So.
All right. So my surprise is that we actually got it done. And by we, I mean the people that are red on the map, which are most of the people who live in the houses you buy and sell. In the Midwest are mostly red, not blue. It doesn't mean that they will always get their will delivered at the polls. We had 51% turnout in this county, and I think 30% in Saline County. That's very low for a general election.
That's pretty unusual.
So I guess my comment is, you know, there was a lot of money spent. Eagle had more money in political spent on our radio stations this year than in a long time. We had some dollars spent on TV. But the onslaught of advertising this year at the end of these campaigns was really amazing to see. Not so much to hear, because it's kind of ugly.
Right, yeah, and it's really interesting to hear people, you know, the layperson saying, I really wish money was out of politics, or at least PAC money and that sort of thing. Particularly they say that when they see this barrage of very expensive, glossy, you know, 5 to 10 of them arriving in your mailbox every day.
Right.
People complain about the money in politics, but yet apparently it works because that's where the money goes. So.
Yeah, I don't have a single objection to money in politics. It's the voice of the people. As long as we have money as individuals, we should be free to use it. Whether it's you or me or a group of us together, if we wanted to start well, my buddy in college, this is a college story, they have to forgive me. Yep. He used to say, when are we going to have a meeting of the He-Man Woman Haters Club? And so whether we're going to form a He-Man Woman Haters Club and want to pool our dues, 50 cents a piece together, we should have a right to do that. It's a free nation.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
unfortunately, the electorate and how they decide elections, it determines a large part where that money is spent. And if that money is spent in gloss and creating fear among the population of, if I don't vote against this guy, here's what'll happen. I think you put the money and you put the fact that you have to create fear in the electorate to win your point is that's probably a combination that's very concerning to people.
I would agree. There's more heat than light in advertisement for political causes, but at least there's some heat and some light. Coming from my historical background for the camera, the one thing to fear is silence, being silenced. That's the one thing that doesn't work. If we're allowed to speak, we're responsible for our own foolish statements, then we'll be okay eventually. Freedom works every time it's tried.
So if you don't have enough money, it's
Join
harder
the
to
NRA.
speak. It's harder to speak.
Join the NRA or join the He-Man's Woman Haters Club or whatever group.
I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying this as an individual. If you're an individual candidate who isn't quite fundraising because of the big PACs all go in one direction, then some way you're marginally silenced or at least marginalized. So, I mean, you can make that argument either way.
Sure. I agree.
So but as an individual voter, definitely that's where, you know, you can do exactly what you can do and make best use of what you have. And where Saline County only has 30% turnout, which I would have thought just the vote that they had on whether to have 3 or 5 commissioners,
I would agree.
I would have thought would have brought out everybody.
I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
And they had campaigns within their district that were bitter. I thought surely that's going to drive turnout. And evidently what it drove is turn off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so Libertarian guy right here.
Yeah, Libertarian guy.
Libertarian guy.
Yeah.
So how did Liberty work out this year?
Well, not so good. It's always an uphill battle when you have primarily a positive message, and that's one thing about Libertarian candidates is, you know, we talk about policy and we don't bash the other candidate. And you didn't hear a single Libertarian talk about Obamacare. You didn't hear him talk about the Obama agenda. You didn't hear him talk about the failed experiment in Kansas with the tax policy.
Right.
That makes it hard to get your name out. Also, there's just not a whole lot of money flowing into the Libertarian Party, despite good ideas, good candidates. Once again, it just doesn't work. So.
You know, that's kind of funny because probably the wealthiest people in our state are libertarians.
You know, the Koch brothers supposedly are libertarians.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I only had one yard sign in my yard out there on 2997 Eden Road. Guess whose it was?
It was Key Number's son.
That's right. You know why?
Because you tell me.
He was the only person that asked me to put up a sign.
Oh, really?
Would you like a sign? Would you like to put it up and support my campaign? I said, sure. We invited Keene, Governor Brownback, and Paul Davis to a debate at the Eisenhower Presidential Library and Museum. You helped me organize that through the Chamber of Commerce. We put a lot of effort into reaching out. Despite the flurry at the end of the campaign where they were willing to get up and talk on any stage that would let them, when we did this early on, nobody wanted to get up next to Keene, Umber, and speak about these things.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is it was, there seems to be a trend in general across politics that you don't want to get on the stage. For whatever reason, whether it's everybody's recording, there's a flub here and there, but you know, the Kansas Bar Association, you know, they were going to have a forum, and Davis and Brownback both didn't go for that one. I think there was probably at least half a dozen, which should be fairly high profile, if you want to call them a debate or forums, that either one or both of the candidates elected not to go to. And it raises the question, you know, are they trying to keep voters misinformed to the point where they just want to see the barrage at the end? And like you said, they all start showing up right at the end. You know, is there and there seems to be a pattern of that in general, which leads to the whole disconnect between the elected official and the public they're supposed to serve.
I'm positive it's not healthy. I'm positive it's not good for the citizenry, and I'm positive it's connected to 30 to 50% being considered good in turnout. Conversations are good for the citizenry. Answering a direct question, unedited in long form, what we do here all the time, is good for the citizenry. You know, we've had several successful government forums at the Eisenhower Presidential Library, and all of them were very well received by the voters and the candidates. It's because they, despite their reluctance maybe initially, once they started to talk to each other and to the audience about the issues, good things happened. And
I think, and it seems to me like these organizations, and like I said, there was dozens of them probably. I don't know of all of them. I know of 6 that were canceled, but if they decided that their forum was going to be, it's a candidate forum, don't frame it as a debate, candidate forum, have candidates of various different offices there. If you show up, you get the podium. If you don't, you don't. And I think that would reward those who are working to inform and get votes and meet people. I think that was probably, in my mind, a better way to go about it.
well, then we'll do it that way next time.
And we'll be actually able to have an event instead of not having an event.
Right,
So,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now there were some other issues on everybody's ballots around. We had 2 tax issues here in Dickinson County, City of Abilene. We had a City of Abilene sales tax for the improvements or a new building, fire department, police department, administrative offices, set to kick in when the other tax rolls off 2018.
Right.
And that failed, and it failed at a pretty high number. We had Dickinson County sales tax to support road and bridges with sales tax versus mill levy.
Yep.
That one passed decent amount of votes when you look at the
It was fairly
percentages.
close, but yeah.
But it passed.
Yep.
I think both organizations tried what they perceived the best way of reaching out to the constituents, and one passed, one didn't. Wisdom?
I think, first of all, on the road and bridges are recognized by nearly everybody as one of those functions of government. And particularly with bridges that are, WPA projects and older, if you have a fair amount of traffic on there, machinery is getting bigger, that's probably money well invested in our economy for that infrastructure. On the city issue, a number of things are in play, in my opinion. The economy right now, the looming, impending decisions to be made at Alco, and how that's going to affect employment and sales in town. I think we've lost a few businesses over the last few years. Word on the street is there's a few more small businesses looking to close. I think you throw all the economic factors into place, and you can see where people are like, man, we just can't afford this at this time. I will tell you though, the police department definitely needs a new facility. I mean, I think if someone's deliberating on that, that's not even a question. I think most people would agree with that, particularly if you've been over there and seen the facilities. It's much needed. But the spinoff of that is that, well, if you get rid of that, what do you do with the other city functions in that building? And I think there's still just too much up in the air on what that scenario would look like.
Okay.
I'm not sure people even know, or even the city knows at this point, what they're going to do or plan to do. For me personally, visiting with the city manager about it, he indicated that the initial plan is to tear down the building that's sitting there. And I'm like, well, you're taking on costs for tearing down a building. You're taking on costs for asbestos removal, whether you rehab it or don't rehab it. I'm not suggesting the city's buildings stay there, but that cost is going to be there no matter what you do. And you've got an asset you could sell to somebody that could use it for something else. So that's just my personal take on that. But
I heard some of that on the street too. I'm not sure we have a plan yet, and if we don't have a plan, why are we voting on it? Hindsight's 20/20, I suspect. But that's some of what I heard there. But I guess my personal is I agree. Something has to be done with the operation of the police department in this building, or it's a liability waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody recognizes that. I'm just not sure we have that plan that people will fund yet.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe this is just a taster, because we know
could be
with 2018 being somewhat down the road, maybe this is just
could be the warm-up,
easing it in. Just kind of feeling the public out on it.
Clay County had 2 questions on the ballot for the schools, and they deliberately divided it up into 2 questions. One with very straightforward, we need these facilities fixed. Leaking roofs, old floors, lighting, HVAC, and fixing a track in The name will come to me. Over by the lake, not Milford, but this side.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, Wakefield, Wakefield. So Wakefield track, they run on the street over there. So they have an area, and they were going to put a small 300-meter track in. That passed. Their second issue they divided off was a multi-use sports facility up by the high school. They play football all the way across town in an old stone stadium. They were going to put turf on this football field close to them, make it into a 4-season soccer everything field, and build a softball complex right next to the high school where they have some land they own. But that was all, the benefit matrix here was all in the future. This is how it could help us in the future. The rest was, this helps us now.
Right.
And won this one, lost this one. I think they were wise to split it. I sent Mike Folks, the superintendent, a note early that morning. I said, Mike, your wisdom has shown. You're wise to split that issue, even though they explained the benefits of both. And there really was a financial issue to do them both. I mean, they could basically do it with no extra taxes due to things that happen with state funding of schools right now and record low interest rates right now. But still, it was real money that had to be spent, and people voted there to keep that money in their pocket at home versus send it to the county, to the school. Almost every other tax issue around us lost.
Yeah.
And that's a great temperature checker in my world. What do you think?
So in the case of the one was for primarily plant related to, directly related to education.
Right.
And the sports complexes, that's not, I mean, nowadays I suppose you could say it's a core function of the school, but certainly for most people, it's school. I mean, it's school and athletics in a lot of minds are still separate. And so that sounds like a wise investment for education there. And once again, something people are willing to pay for. And you're right, it's good to split those two up because, you don't want to bring down the real basic meat of the issue by having other sundry auxiliary type of things in there.
Okay, we've only got 2 minutes left. So there's no way we can accomplish what we want to in 2 minutes. But I want you to give me your view of the marketplace here in Abilene, and I mean the greater marketplace, not the real estate marketplace. How are we doing? What challenges do we face? How big are they? And how do we start solving them? You have now a minute and a half.
Wow, what does this have to do with politics?
Minute 20.
Okay.
Everything's political.
Wow.
Everything's political.
Oh, the challenges are the same challenges we face, but I think some of them have come to reality here lately. Loss of small businesses. And I think you look around and you see a lot of business owners who are set to retire. Finding good quality employees to fill those positions, or people with a level of interest to maybe even invest in those businesses and become the new owner of those businesses is way low. And actually had a conversation with a group of business owners in here recently about that very issue, and there's some things people are working on. But that, the constant brain drain to Kansas City and other areas is ongoing and a real problem. Property values have dropped quite a bit, but they're kind of stabilizing, at least on the housing market now. Commercial space seems very cheap. I don't know. It's a challenge with, like I said, the aging population to really keep some of those things going.
Well, I'm going to take us probably 30 seconds over, but I wanted to agree with you, I guess, and say that nobody in small town America here that I've been around, not just Abilene, has solved the generational handoff of business, all of the problems yet. Sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes there's a miracle, but nobody's got a solid working plan to transit a business that's in the hands of people who want and need to retire to a group or an individual of young investors and make it work. Nobody's got that key yet.
I'll tell you, here's an observation. You're starting to see the trend. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. You're starting to see the trend away from four-year college degrees into the trades, and it's probably 10 or 15 years too late, or later than it should have happened. You know, the people that take care of your roof, your electrical, your plumbing, your carpet, all of those types of things, the trades, your automobiles, the pool of people that have great competency in that and are willing to pass it down is getting smaller and smaller. And there's a great opportunity out there for kids that are to go with those vocations and do very well in a small town. And all you got to do is, anytime you've ever tried to remodel a bathroom, call somebody and see how long it takes for them to come to your place. And what's it said? If you show up on time and you do the work, right there, you're going to be a success in every small town. So.
Can't leave it on a more positive note than that. You've given a whole generation of young people
I hope
watching the program today.
And Sabrina and I have a youngin' at home, and we've decided he's going to learn a trade before he goes to 4-year school.
Wow, there's a
he can put himself through school that way.
Bold step, but from a bold guy.
It needs to happen.
James Holland, so thank you for coming in.
I appreciate it, man.
We need to do this longer because 26, 28
we
minutes.
We do this more often. We do this like once a year, maybe.
Yeah, not long enough. Folks, we really appreciate you watching Our Town. We appreciate your investment in our community, and we thank you for the business you do with Eagle Communications. For Eagle Communications, I'm Dennis Weese. That's James Holland. Have a great day.